Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. So today we're talking about the E3 Coliseum panel that Jason just did with Jeff Keighley. I've already made a video talking about basically the kind of small gameplay hints that he gave us towards Black Ops 4, namely the perk vapors system, which sounds cool. Sounds like that's just going to replace perks and be the newfangled version of something that we've seen for ages, but was very much tied to Dr. Monty, and now that they're going in a new story and they don't have Dr. Monty, they need to refresh it. So we talked about that. We talked about all the other gameplay changes that he mentioned. Today, we're talking story, okay? So, in Black Ops 3, obviously, and the games previously, we had the Primus crew highlighted for the majority of the kind of impactful story events. So as soon as Jason came on board, it was obviously Primus. You got More of the Dead, which isn't Primus, okay, so it breaks my rule there, but then Origins, obviously a very significant Primus map, and then we sort of track their story as things go on. The crew before that was Ultimis. Yes, there was Victus as well. Yes, that's the transit crew, and yes, they're in their little pods in Blood of the Dead, and that's going to be all great, but the crew that was the beginnings of it all was Ultimis, right? And Ultimis are now confirmed to be returning in the classified map for Black Ops 4. And when Jason announced that, I got pretty excited, I'm not gonna lie, because for so long I have assumed that that story was pushed to the side and forgotten about simply because of the fact that it was the original kind of goofier versions of the characters. It was a little bit less kind of controlled, a little bit less actual kind of storytelling going on with them, and instead just this kind of crazy mishmash of silly quotes and some lewd jokes and stuff like that, and somehow they kind of messed their way up through the entirety of the games that we sort of originally saw, right? So I thought that they were gone for good, but they're not. So yesterday or the day before, we had the classified map announced. We had the announcement that there's going to be a fourth map on disc. We've got those 3 on disc maps that we've already had announced. That's 9, Blood of the Dead, and Voyage of Despair. But now there's a map in the the collector's editions of the game, which is classified, which is a 5 remake, which is sort of confirmed now at this point. It's set in the Pentagon, so it's basically a 5 remake. It's a re-envisioning, I guess, of 5. Probably a very similar layout because it's meant to be a precursor to the events of 5. So some of the things that we see in this map classified are going to directly relate to why there's an outbreak in the Pentagon, when Kennedy, Castro, McNamara, and Nixon are there. What the fate of those characters ultimately is might be kind of hinted somehow. I mean, we might see the closet that I think it's McNamara jumps into and hides from the zombies in. Like, who knows? They can play with those kind of story threads if they want to, seeing as they updated us about those things in Revelations. That was quite recent. Now we've got a whole bunch of new opportunities for them to really explore that kind of storyline. So Ultimis characters are going to be playable in that map, and that poses the question, are we finally getting an answer to what happened to those characters after Moon? Because that's been a question forever. Literally since it happened, people have been asking, what happened to those 4 characters? As soon as you get to the end of the Moon Easter egg, and Takeo says his little quote, and it's all very grand, I will destroy every last remnant of 9 through 5, or something like that. It's been like 10 years, I don't remember it right now, but as soon as we moved away from Moon in the next game, in Transit Black Ops 2, people were left kind of with this kind of whiplash of getting to this grand point in that story and then just suddenly not having any more information to go on. And so I think that this is the perfect opportunity for them to say, yes, it's Ultimis, but it's not just Ultimis, it's Ultimis specifically at a point in the story that you are yet to learn about. That for me is really, really exciting. I don't know how exactly it's going to work. I mean, the Ultimis crew complete the Moon Easter egg, and then they just teleport to the Pentagon. Is the Pentagon gonna like fly a little rocket ship up there and just bring them back to the Pentagon? Like, I don't know, man. It's a question that is going to probably remain for a little while now, because Jason said that the only future information that we're getting, or rather the next future information that we're getting, is going to be at Comic-Con, so there's a little while until that happens. But I'm just left with so many questions, man. Like, I mean, let's for a second think about the hypothetical that this isn't after Moon, okay? If that's the case, when is it? Because we've got a pretty good idea of how the story works for Ultimis, or at least I feel like we do. Like, that arc has been kind of set in stone for a while, and I feel like the timeline only helps to solidify it and make it more concrete. And so now, to try and slot a trip to the Pentagon into that would probably be quite difficult, but then again, it's Treyarch, right? If they wanted to just slot a new story in somewhere, I'm pretty sure they could. I mean, you've got all the questions about, like, Richtofon's spacesuit in Ascension and things like that. Maybe they'll go in that direction, I don't know. But for now, I'm thinking that it's definitely going to be tied to Moon in some significant way, just because of the fact that Jason is very aware that the community has certain questions about certain character arcs in Zombies, right? So take, for instance, the Peter McCain storyline. I pressured Jason so much about Peter because I was passionate about that character, and similarly with Sophia, with Abigail as well, and with all these characters, Amelia, these characters that you don't really get a lot of screen time for, but that I still think have very interesting backstories and histories and kind of hints towards them. Jason's very aware of all of those, and so he's honoured that as much as he could. Brock and Gary in Shangri-La, and then in Revelations, and all sorts of places popping up. Like, that is something that he's really tried to do justice to. And I think that this is basically another example of that, where he said, the community has been asking this question about Moon for so long, here's an answer. I mean, even if you look at the questions that were asked in the video that I recorded saying, basically, if you want to ask a question to Jason Blundell, leave it as a comment down below. I'll have this video, by the way, linked in the corner of the screen if you want to click it. But leave a comment and I'll ask Jason the question next time I see him. Like, I've got a massive list on my phone, and one of the top questions on there is, what happened to the Ultimis characters after Moon? And another one of the top questions on there is, will we ever play as Ultimis ever again? And now we have answers to both of those. Yes, and I mean, like, it's happening on disc as well. Well, okay, it's, again, collector's edition type thing, but it's happening at launch. That makes me extremely excited. That means we've got a kind of symmetrical storytelling arc going on, where we'll have 9 and Voyage. That's the new Ether story. No, that's the new, oh my god, I'm getting confused. That's the new Alchemy story. We really need a name for it. Jason didn't give us one. Like, I've been calling it the Alchemy story. It's not the Alchemy story, it's something else. Like, there is a word they've got, but they haven't told us what it is yet, so I'm going to keep calling it the Alchemy story. It makes it a little bit more confusing because they're both A's, but we've got 2 maps in that Alchemy story, and then 2 maps in the Ether story, and, I mean, maybe that means that we'll end up getting more DLC maps this year, and they'll be able to give us 8 DLC maps, and we'll get 4 for each storyline? I don't know. That'd be cool, but for now, I think I'm going to wrap this video up here because I'm getting tongue-tied, I need some food, and I'm going to get this video up. I mean, you guys need to see this content, so thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, and I'll see you next time, very soon, for more Zombies content. Bye-bye.